The package arrived in the mailroom of the Washington Post on Tuesday afternoon, about the time the rain began. A clerk delivered it to the desk of Gerald McMullen and placed it on a pile of unread mail. Gerald had planned on announcing his move to Charlotte Tuesday morning, but like the morning of 9/11, the world had suddenly changed. His mother and the new job in Charlotte would have to wait until things calmed down. The stresses of the last 24 hours had taken its toll, and Gerald was exhausted when he returned to his cubicle at 11 p.m. He had known Tim Cook personally and was determined to cover every aspect of the assassination and Cook's supposed suicide. He and Tim had briefly shared an apartment his first year at the Post, and there wasn't a gay bone in his body. His bones were filled with booze and surrounded with women. He was a neatness freak who later traded in the alcohol for a brief marriage and political commentary. Once Tim was appointed press secretary for Barnett's administration, he counted on Gerald for fair and unbiased reporting at the Post. Tim's loss made the assassination personal. Gerald faced the pile of mail with dread. He flipped through the letters, dropping the important ones in his briefcase. He paused at a manila envelope and studied it. The return address, 604 H Street, Northwest, Washington, seemed oddly familiar. That's Chinatown. He tossed the envelope in with the others, closed the briefcase, and headed home. Christian Luther was in his car when he received the call. Stalker's voice squeaked with excitement. I just heard from one of my contacts in the White House. Barnett gave Tim Cook the second copy of the speech. Why wasn't it at his home? Luther asked. He mailed it before he got there, Stalker said. Where? Don't know. One of the White House pastry chefs said the press secretary came down to the kitchen around midnight with a manila envelope and asked if he would drop it in the nearest mailbox. He said Tim seemed very nervous and kept stressing how important it was to get it in the mail that evening. The chef agreed to take it, but explained that he wouldn't get off work until 8 a.m. Tim said never mind and left with it. A pastry chef? He didn't trust the Secret Service? Hell no. He knew the names in that report. He must have figured we had others in the agency. Did the chef see the address? No. But as Tim left, the chef remembered him mumbling something about an editor believing it. Bastard mailed it to the Post? Luther said. I doubt it was the Post. I checked their mainframe to see if there were any conspiracy stories in the queue. Nothing but funeral crap. Then where? I'm working on it. Do you want Raptor to stimulate the pastry chef's memory? No. Raptor needs to lay low for now. See if it turns up in the queue at any other papers. If so, you know what to do. Is the worm ready? Yes. It can wipe a mainframe in 15 seconds. If we're too late, the arson team will take care of the rest. Norman Trexler was in his study, his wife and kids locked in their rooms upstairs, livid and refusing to acknowledge that he was even home. He settled on the couch with a pillow and blanket. When he switched on the news, he saw the report on Spectrum's latest victim. CNN was already referring to Tim Cook's death as a suicide. The report stated that the gun was a street piece, probably purchased by Cook sometime Monday evening. There was no mention of the gay magazine, even though he knew that Stalker had leaked that information. The report then flashed his own photo and noted that he had earlier been reported missing by his family, had turned up distraught by the death of his friend, but otherwise safe and sound. Once again, Trexler checked each door and made sure the security alarm was armed. He knew that Stalker wouldn't hesitate to take him out if he pulled another stunt like the Motel 6 incident. Christian Luther wasn't taking any chances, and Trexler knew far more about Spectrum than Tim Cook ever could. The rain was heavy and traffic was hell to be so late, but Gerald McMullen made it to his townhouse at 11:40 p.m. He sat his briefcase on his chair, opened it and placed the stack of mail on the pile already covering his desk. The manila envelope lay on top, but Gerald was exhausted. He closed the briefcase, sat down to remove his wet shoes, and noted the red flashing light of his voicemail machine on the credenza behind him. He spun his chair around to press the play button, but when he did, The backrest of his chair bumped against his desk just enough for the manila envelope to slide off the pile and wedge itself unseen between the rear of the desk and the wall. The message was a hang-up, so McMullen shut off the desk lamp and went to bed.